What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammerdown Motorsports. Today we're going to talk a little bit about this new addition to the shop, to the fleet of vehicles that we have around here. We have, yes, another Jeep. Now, this Jeep is not just like any Jeep. It's pretty much like every other TJ, other than the fact that it's a one owner and it seems to be somewhat rust-free. And it also has a big plow on the front, which is the reason why I bought it in the first place. Long story short, it was about $7,000 installed on my new Jeep, and then I would have this big ugly plow mount on the front. So I went on a marketplace, found this gem right here, and it already had a Meyer plow on the front, which is what brand I was going to get anyways. Mind you, this is not a brand new plow, but it is in very good condition. The guy I bought this from actually uses for his business. He's the second owner, but it's from the same family. His son had bought it brand new, and 5 years later, he needed a bigger vehicle. Dad bought this, and then he ended up using it for the snow plowing at his business, which was a driveway about the length of this bay. So it really had very light use, and it was pretty much well taken care of from what I could tell. I mean, the guy seemed very honest, very nice, and went through a lot of what he had done to this in order for him to feel good about selling it to somebody else. He had the frame inspected, which is an issue with these. They do rust, especially when they're using the salt a lot. But from what he said, everything had been inspected. The frame was all good. He had one spot repaired. He put a new fuel tank in it. He had new brakes put on it, new alternator, new starter. A bunch of work had been done pretty recently, and it really hadn't been driven all that much in the last few years, and we haven't really had any snow in the last few years. So he didn't really feel the need to have a plow dedicated vehicle for a short driveway, and he wanted to retire, so he wanted to get rid of the vehicle and try to find a Jeep that is a one owner, but basically a one owner, one family anyways, is pretty hard to do. A lot of these have been modified. A lot of them have the big tires on them, the big lift, and people have put wiring all through them. They've had stereos and all that kind of stuff installed, and they can be a real mess, and it's hard to find a clean one. And I think with this one here in particular, I kind of found a rare one because it's a 97, it has a plow, and it hasn't really been messed with too badly. So being that it is a one-owner vehicle, there is a lot of ups, but there is a couple of downs I have noticed. As you can see, there has been a little bit of spray paint work done on the plow. Not really a big deal. He was trying to keep rust from starting, and I think wherever it started, he would paint it and make sure that it wasn't going to get any worse. We do find that on the motor here as well, but there wasn't a lot of prep work done, and it kind of ran and made a little bit of a mess on it. So I'd rather have it like this than rusted out, obviously. But what we're going to do is kind of clean this up a little bit and get it the right color, because this is the original plow color. And then you can see it's been, yeah, a lot of runs, a lot of yellow paint. This right here is actually what I sprayed on it just kind of as a test, because I believe it's very close to the actually original Meyer plow color, which is what I want it to be in the end. So I will spend a little bit of time just kind of cleaning this up and making it exactly kind of the right color of what I wanted, and get rid of some of this sloppy paint. Also on the fender flares, he did kind of the same thing. Temperature was probably not right, and there was probably not a lot of prep done here. We do have a lot of fish eyes and nastiness happening there from spraying these fender flares, but you can buy an entire set of fender flares for this thing for like $130. So either I will refinish them, or we will end up just getting new ones. Not really a big deal. But as you can see, you look at the outside of the Jeep, it's kind of hard to see because of the color of it. Is the nice dark blue, which is kind of shaking it up a little bit, because a lot of our vehicles here are white, but we don't have any visible rust on the outside of the vehicle. I just gave it a wash. Definitely needs a polish. And these Jeeps, I mean, you can see right here to here, this hood was actually repainted once. He said there was a defect in the middle, and then somebody repainted it for him. But it's been a few years and it's a little hazy, but if you can see over here how the difference is, we do have this section. I took 4 stages with my new polisher I got for Christmas, and I ended up polishing that up, and it actually looks really, really nice, and probably just needs a little bit of sealer coat on it yet. But what I'm going to do is actually go over the entire Jeep, give it a nice polish, just kind of clean it up a little bit. We do have our original wheels. We do have some Pro Comp tires about half worn, which have a decent tread, all-terrain, and they do get around pretty decently in the snow. Unfortunately, my step over here is broken, and it does this. So I'm gonna have to get a new one of those. I think he bumped it on something and then the bolts cracked and then they rusted off. So we're gonna need a new side step for this thing. We do have the full top on it, so we don't have actually real windows. These are the half doors. So we have plastic windows, which is actually kind of cool. If you have to open these up, you have to use a zipper. And then over here, we have our old school regular key. One thing I do on any vehicle I have that has a like true value key like this, I hate that. I need the original key. So I go to the dealership and I get them to cut me a original blank that says Jeep on it. It has the little rubber piece on it and all of that. Just kind of makes me feel like, you know, I have an original piece to the vehicle instead of something that was done at the hardware store. But you can see we do have a little bit of seat wear. If you guys know of any good covers for these, I would definitely be interested in probably getting a set of covers for all the seats. The back seat has a little bit of discoloration on it from something that was on it at some time. Kind of hard to see, is a little dark in there, but the carpet is in half decent shape. And really, all in all, for a 1997, you can't really ask for too much more than this. I mean, we have steering wheel's not worn too badly. We do have a manual, which is awesome. And then we have our plow controls right on the stick. So it moves when you shift, and you can kind of do that all with one hand, which makes it very, very nice to plow with. We do have an aftermarket radio, which is a CD player, no Bluetooth, and it's pretty old, so we're probably gonna be switching that up as well. But the top seems to hold the water pretty well. There is a tiny little drip I noticed on the passenger side, but this was actually garage kept as well. He has a Corvette and this, and he'd parked them inside. So that's kind of why there isn't a whole lot of really like intrusion of water or anything in this vehicle. And the seats are actually in decent shape, and it's just a fun little Jeep. It's just kind of honest to what it is. And you can see, turn the key on here real quick. We have 106,621 miles. So I put a little over 200 miles on it already, and 106,000 miles for a 1997 is not too bad. Door test closes very nice. I mean, there's actually very minimal wear on this vehicle from what I've seen so far. There is a little bit of just kind of surface rust underneath. The frame has been sprayed, and we're actually gonna go through and do some preventative rust stuff on this vehicle in a future episode. We're gonna get it up on the lift, and we're gonna clean the inside of the frame and do a little bit of protection, which I just received today, the kit to do that. So a question for you TJ people, if you guys are out there and you know a little bit about these, let me know what is going on with my rear seat. So I've taken the seat out already once because I cleaned the carpet. I know you probably can't tell, but it was completely brown in the back here because it was used for some work. But in here, we have these pegs, and you can see they do not engage. So you can pull back on this, it doesn't do anything. That latch does not seem to want to allow this to latch back into place. There's two pegs on the front of the seat where it kind of pivots, but you can see I can lift this entire seat forward as is, and that's not good. We want to be able to have that locked in the way it's supposed to. If I put it on the other peg, it's actually further back, so that's even worse. So if there's somebody out there with knowledge about these rear seats, tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can get this thing in the right position where it's supposed to be. So we do have the rear window right here, and I didn't know if there's some way that that lower bar engages on here. I got to play with that a little bit yet, but it does zip in and out, makes it very easy. The side windows zip in and out, so you can open this thing up pretty easily. Our tailgate opens all the way. I've seen some that are a little bit seized up. This one seems to work very nicely. Just like that. Our spare tire, not so great. It's just kind of whatever came off of it at one point in time, and it's very dry and worn out. We do have a hitch on it, which is very nice, because if I have to drag my garbage cans up and down, that is the best way to do it. And now I can do it with this little Jeep. I don't have to worry about having a hitch in my truck at all times. So far on the wish list of stuff I want to fix, that is just kind of little items. I don't know what happened here, but this is all kind of chewed up. I don't know how that would have happened, but that needs to be replaced just because it bothers me. And I know you can find these. Some people want like $50 for used ones. I'm trying to find a deal on one. I mean, obviously if it's used, maybe there's a deal to be had. I'm not entirely sure, but I will be searching around for something like that. And then back here, we do have the the one buckle is the plastic part is broken on it. Everything functions as it should. It's just, you know, the little cosmetic piece here, which, you know, if I can find one in good shape, I definitely would be interested in that as well. And then we just need kind of a little bit of a cleanup inside here. I'm going to scrub these seats down the best I can and just kind of wipe down the dash. And I don't think any protectant's been on these probably ever. I did put a black ice air freshener in there, so it kind of smells like, you know, your first car probably would. This step is actually in good shape, so we don't have to worry about that. It does have original all-weather mats from Jeep. They're the branded ones, so those are very nice. One thing you will notice is it says Wrangler and just says Jeep there. We don't have Sport. We don't have 4.0. This is a 2.5 liter. So this is an SE. So this is pretty much your standard base model TJ, but it's a 2.5 liter. It runs really good. It doesn't have a whole lot of power, but it's nice and quiet. It fires right up in 10-degree weather. No problem whatsoever. Never plugged in or anything like that, and just does its job. It's all it really needs to do. I mean, for plowing snow, you put it in 4-wheel low. This thing's got plenty of torque, and it's basically just going to do that. It's going to plow snow. It's going to be a fun little Jeep. And in the summertime, I'll probably pull the plow off and go drive it around too, just to kind of get that Jeep experience. Now, being a Jeep JL owner and a former JK owner, this is the most Jeep that I've had. This is what it always, like, my friends had Jeeps in high school, and this is what they were. This was what a Jeep was. It had the doors that were just, you know, light. They had plastic windows. You had decent seats. You had a stick shift. They didn't have a lot of power. They were capable, but they were fun. They were probably one of the most fun vehicles. If your parents could give you a high school vehicle and it was a Jeep, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, so I was always jealous of those people who had them, and I got to drive them, and it was always a good time as well. But now I get to have my own, and I'm just kind of reliving a little bit of that. And you know what? I just found, and I never thought I would be, I'm a bit of a Jeep person. I thoroughly enjoy driving them. They're the 2-door especially. I was never a big fan of the 4-door. I owned one 4-door. That was my JK, was a 2013. And I moved on from that one. And once I got back into Jeeps, when I got my first 2-door, again, my 2022, it was just kind of like one of those things. I just really enjoyed the entire experience. And now we have 3 Jeeps, and I don't plan on getting rid of any of them. And looking under the hood, we have our beautiful little 2.5 liter. You can see everything under here. It looks really nice. I mean, for the year, there's no oil everywhere. There's nothing messed up. You don't see anything other than the wiring for the plow. There's not a bunch of stuff zip tied everywhere. And we're able to put the hood back like this. Is what I love about Jeeps. This one in particular just kind of sits over here on this part of the top, so you're not messing up your paint or whatever, but makes it easy to work on. You can see a bunch, all the light gets in there, and it's just kind of one of those features about a Jeep that I absolutely love. So there it is, everybody, our 1997 Jeep TJ. We do have a couple little TLC items. I mean, honestly, I could just leave this thing and be like, whatever, let's just use it for plowing, but that's not the way I am. I have to mess with absolutely everything and try to make it as good as it possibly can be for what it is without going too far. And I'm going to be getting this thing nicely cleaned up and make it respectable. And I still want to drive it around, even though it's kind of dedicated for plow use. But I just love the 5-speed. I love driving around in the back roads with a Jeep. It's just an experience that is very, very enjoyable to me. And like I said, I'm becoming a Jeep guy. It's just something that's happening. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be doing Rebel stuff and Super Duty stuff and ATV stuff. That's still stuff that we do, but it's just adding one more element to the channel, which I absolutely enjoy. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, keep that hammer down.